They are like the delay is mainly attributable to the untimely procurement of materials by the contractor. This is also coincided with the shortage of cement and basalt aggregated in the country. Thereafter, the contractor requested for extension of time, which was evaluated and eventually granted. So here we're talking about the period of the completion. It should have been completed in September 2021, but up to June 2022, this contract wasn't completed and it was fully paid. So they just explained that it was due to the lack of cement and basalt, but now they've agreed to extend the contract.
I see that there's no auditor's further comment. Did you, were you shown the agreement extending the time?
Oh, no, we haven't requested for that. Because for this particular finding, it's about the contract, it is it is gone beyond the stipulated period, and then again it was fully paid, and then there is no way that the quality and the quality and then the extra cost must be incurred. So that's why we haven't come up with any auditors further comment.
And then at 3.10.2, you have stated that they deviated from the work specification, and you said there was significant deviation from the contract agreement work specification and the actual work provided by the contractor.
Yep.
You asked for them to provide reasons for the deviation, and they said that the signing of the contract coincided with the repair of the road section in front of Boxbar Stadium by NRA, and basically they provided justification that it was recommended that there be a side drain between the edge of the road and the concrete pavement, etc. And so, because there was no provision in the agreement with SAFJAS to accommodate the drain, they decided to use precast concrete interlocking paving blocks instead of reinforced concrete. Did you see any documentation to this effect, or did you just take their response at face value?
Yes, because that's why we don't, there are certain things for us, we just go by the contract document. The contract document describes the scope of the work as construction of concrete pavement along the Boxbar Mini Stadium. However, during the visit, the project, we found that there was significant deviation from the contract agreement work specification and the actual work provided by the contractor. The contractor used concrete bricks pavement instead of the reinforced concrete pavement as stated in the contractual agreement. So if they said any other thing because of this, when they give another explanation, as auditors we believe that okay, our point is clear, and then the readers see for them also they are respond the reason why they did it, and then now it's left to the decision makers to if at all they say something in counter like try and talk, and that's the time we'll come up with an auditor's further comment. But if they agree and then explain the reason, for us, well, we don't have much to say, but that's for the readers to digest and take necessary action.
At 3.10.3, and 3.10.4, they're both interlinked. It says the council entered into a contract with Baisa Lateral Drilling and Plumbing Enterprise for the drilling of 2 boreholes for the community of Arankoni Kunda and Kanjibat and Kanwali at Funyi Bondali. The area council paid $1,054,200 for the drilling of 2 boreholes for those areas, for those communities, and the project was to be completed 45 days after commencement of work, which was to be 1st July to 15th August 2021. You said that you noted that both constructions were at a standstill. The water tank in one community was leaking, and 8 taps were installed instead of 11 as per the agreement. And for another community, the contractor stopped working since there was scarcity of water tanks, and the pipes connecting the 2 villages were not installed. You said this might lead to loss of funds to the area council since the villagers are not benefiting from the project. You recommended that management should ensure that necessary action is taken for the contractor to complete the works without delay since the full payment was made. Do you know whether anything was done subsequently? There's no further comments.
Yeah, for their response, there's a force account is applied for this contract, notwithstanding the leakage and the 3 outstanding taps are installed. We can only confirm this in our 2022 audit.
What does that mean?
What? Which one?
What does their response mean?
Their response means force action account. Force account is applied for this contract. Force account. I'm just thinking maybe they are taking a force against the contractor. They say force account.
I don't quite follow.
When we say false account in contracting, it means that they are not paying you anymore. They'll buy the material and then you execute the works. That is what they mean by false account.
Okay.
In contracting.
But they've already been paid fully, so
Yeah.
I think that's the issue because the auditors pointed out that the payment was, they already fully paid the amount. So
Normally, that is the reason why you should deposit bank bonds, because they will turn out to your bonds and then they use the bonds to execute, to complete the project, and then it will be left to you to go and pay to the bank.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Silla. So, Mr. Trawally, you're saying that you didn't see, you have to check when you do your next audit.
Yeah, the next audit, because this was, for them, this was their response. By then we followed it. So now it will come as a follow-up in subsequent audit.
Thank you. May I refer you to, I'm sorry, I don't know whether the commissioners have any questions before I move to another council.
We have questions, but move, or you want to conclude?
If it's in respect of Brikama, it might be best that, so that he can go through the report itself before we move to a different council.
Okay, very well. Mr. Trawally, looking at some of the provisions of the Local Government Act, and let me make specific reference to Section 148 of the Local Government Act, which talks about monitoring and coordination. If I may refer to it as it is in the Act, it says coordination of the advocacy for local government authorities. Coordination of and advocacy for local government authorities. And Section 149, mandate of the ministry. Now, my question is, what is your view in your findings during this audit period that we are looking into? What role has the ministry played in terms of monitoring and coordination of the policies such that they ensure the harmonization of their activities? And also, you understand, what is their role in making sure that they give direction to the local government institution with respect to projects that they are doing and to transactions they are entering with other parties with respect to projects they are executing in their various municipalities? What is your view with respect to that?
Yeah, I think maybe because I don't have, I think most of it.
And particularly for Brikama, I'm saying this in reference to Brikama.
For Brikama, when it comes to this, as far as this report is concerned, because the report was finalized in October 2022 for this period, the latest audit, October 2022, and then the ministry were copied, and the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Local Government and Land. Since then, and then discussion was held at the National Assembly. Since then, I have not seen any documentation, any report, or any feedback about the action taken by the ministry on this matter. The only thing, when we go back, request for the files, if at all there is anything, any action taken, then it should have been in the files, in one of the files. But not only limiting it to Brikama, but I think across all the councils, these findings, where the other oversight institution, let's say finance, Ministry of Local Government, will be copied. But if you go back, you see very little, you see very little action from the oversight towards regularizing that issue. Yeah. And then
Yes, the reason why I asked that question is that it is because Section 149 again, subsection D of that provision says, monitoring and supervision of the operations of local governments and their compliance with all the laws, regulations, and national policies and guidelines. It's the responsibility of the ministry, and that they should ensure transparency, accountability, and compliance. And it goes on to state what their responsibilities are. So,
I agree. The ministry has that's why I think even yesterday I mentioned, if I have to oppose on the blame, I'm not the right person to do that, but just for the benefit of this, I would say 75% of the blame will go to the oversight institutions. Because if I am doing something, I'm not doing it in accordance, you are there to regulate me, and you are not doing it, then who is to be blamed?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you proceed, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trawally, I'll move to the audit report and final management letter, audit of Kuntur Area Council, for the period 31st December 2019 to 31st December 2020.
Yes. 2020, right?
Yes.
That's fine, I'm there.
Yeah, there, thank you. This is one of the opinions that, this is one of the audit reports that had a disclaimer of opinion.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'll refer you to page 46 of the management letter or of the report.
Okay.
The heading is suspected fraud, and it's in respect of receipt books.
Page 46, right?
Yes, 46. You have noted that there are a bunch of receipt books bearing the letterhead of a regular vendor, Jar Oil Company, and that they were found at the office that used to house the former CEO and used for supporting documents for several doubtful payments. You said the reason for keeping the receipt books at council was not provided by the current management, and the former CEO could not be reached for his comments. Just to be clear, the receipt books were receipt books that were not used, so like blank receipt books.
Yeah. According to the finding, they noted that a bunch of receipt books bearing the letterhead of the regular vendor, Jarrell, were found at the office that used to house the former CEO and used as supporting document for several doubtful payments. It's a receipt book bearing the letterhead of the Jarrell company. Mm-hmm. The reason for keeping the receipt books at the council was not provided by the current management, and the former CEO could not be reached for his comment. Council's internal audit report covering the scope 2019-2020 reported the issue, but we found no evidence of a management response by those charged with governance. It's like they found receipt books with that heading, but they don't know because they don't belong to the council, so they don't know, and these are used to support the payments of the councils as supporting document. And then the council responded, although the council had acknowledged your finding as per the query, but management need to consult the former CEO for his comment before taking necessary as per your recommendation. A team has been set up by the General Counsel to look into the matter of the suspected fraud. Furthermore, a letter has been sent to the former CEO for his comment on your audit observation. Dates when to be regularized, they said June 2022. Auditors further comment, no evidence such as General Counsel minute meeting on the matter and the letter sent to the former CEO was provided.
So at page 48, the doubtful payments that have been referred to
Yeah.
on page 46 is their parent.
Yeah.
So you said that you found out that council paid $251,493.20 for repairs and works for various communities that were not carried out. A sample of the sites visited revealed no evidence of work performed, and the village heads who all denied receiving support from the council corroborated this. And then you detailed those payments in
Yeah.
Annex A. Then the payment of areas to Jar Oil without proof. You said you noted a payment of 200,000 described as settlement of areas to Jar Oil Company. There was no evidence attached to serve as basis, nor was the balance of liability. The check number quoted was also not traced in both the 2019 and 2020 bank statement. We also note that the receipt used for the transaction forms part of the bunch of receipt books found in the custody of the council, or bearing the letterhead of the vendor, Jar Oil. So there's a table detailing the amount.
Yeah.
Is it that there was no? Okay, there were other payments. There were other issues
Yeah.
before the management response. Can you just walk us through those?
The ones you read, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Development and repair works. They said 251 was used to carry out communities that were to carry out that work, but a sample of the site visit revealed that no evidence of work performed, because the villages mentioned they went there, but there was no evidence of that type of work. And then the village head, in fact, denied that he received any of such support from the council for the period. And then this payment was also not budgeted for, and no evidence to determine the planning and development unit administered the repair. And then the development and planning unit, because if there should be any of these communities, I think the director of the planning and development should be at the forefront. But in this case, there was no evidence of his involvement. And payment of areas to Jawel without proof. They found a payment voucher, 200,000, being payment of areas of fuel consumption for year 2018, liability for the above named company as per attack receipt paid check number. But this check number wasn't found in the bank statement, according to the audit team. And then the receipt was among the receipt books found at the former CEO's residence.
So from a reading of this, it appears that, oh well, it sounds like somebody would have used those receipts to claim for payments from the council
Yeah.
fraudulently, essentially.
Yes, that's possible. That might.
And it said that the former CEO was, well, you tried to reach the former CEO, but
They can't reach him,
do
according
you
to
know
the
whether subsequently he gave any statement or anything to assist with that issue?
Or maybe I don't know whether the okay, there is management response to this, maybe because they are all in one management response. So maybe you can go to the third point, and after I can maybe contributing to monthly lumor. Then I'm seeing I can read the management letter.
Yes, please.
Then there was this issue also at the national. Then maybe I can come up with that.
Okay.
Maybe I proceed to
Yes,
3.
please. Yes, please.
Contribution to monthly lumo set settle. We noted that contribution of 198,548 was paid for support in the form of fuel for lumo set settle. However, residents at several lumos visited indicated that no monthly set settle were conducted in their lumos. Furthermore, there was no evidence that the cleansing service and planning department of the council were involved. The procurement department was not involved for the purchase of the fuel. In addition, the receipts attached to the payments were drawn from the bunch of receipt books which were found in the custody of the councils in the bearing of the letterhead of the vendor, Jar Oil. That was similar to that community
The
work.
200,000.
This one is the Lumo, yeah. And then 4, night allowance. Night allowance of 156,000 was paid to staff without evidence that training took place. There were no invitation programs scheduled and report after the completion of the program. There was also evidence that certain staff listed on the training, which was in a different region, were signing in for work on the same date. And then the management response said, your observation has been noted. Also, the council had written a letter to the former CEO for his comment before necessary action are taken as per your recommendation. And they say we will verify and come up with evidence. If not, so charge the officers responsible. Auditors further comment, no evidence was provided to confirm that the council wrote to the former CEO or so charge the officers responsible. This report was discussed at the National Assembly, and then I know National Assembly tasked the current management to provide evidence of writing to the former CEO, and then gave them a timeline for them to reappear again at the National Assembly to give an update on this issue. But since then, National Assembly, we are not meeting for councils. Yeah.
Okay, so the issue has not been dealt with yet.
Yes, as it's yeah.
Yeah. So at page 57 of the report, there's another issue of payment without vouchers totaling $599,973 and 70 butut. Can you take us through that?
Right? Page 57, right? Payment without payment vouchers, right?
Yes.
Yes. This is from the financial regulation that any payment should be, payment vouchers should be raised. And then we noted payment of salaries without payment vouchers as required by the above regulation. This amount of 599,934. And then the management response, they are like, we will ensure payment vouchers are raised for all the future payments. No evidence was provided to confirm the recommendation was implemented. This what happened, I think this has to do with the understanding of the finance director, because for him they have maybe there is this attachment. The supporting document that need to be attached to the payment voucher to support it. For him, that what he in his, because this was discussed at the National Assembly. For him, that it was his belief that that could be used as a payment voucher. But we just brought this one to the way he is doing it is not correct, and that's not the way. That cannot substitute a payment voucher. So, and he said he will make sure that payment voucher are raised for all payments in future. But this is about salaries, payment of salary to the staff.
Okay. I refer you to page 59 of the report. At paragraph 3.4.4, it appears that the council withheld tax of $50,000 but failed to pay it to Gambia Revenue Authority.
Yes. This is withholding tax because, yeah, that's a law as per the tax regulation. We noted unpaid withholding tax of $50,000 to Gambia Revenue Authority. This was in respect of tax withheld from a contract awarded to Sinkanding Company Limited. Implication is a violation of tax regulation. It's a serious offense which may attract substantial loss to the councils in the form of penalties. And then their response was, we will work on paying all withholding tax to GRA and make sure all future withholding tax are immediately debited to the GRA account. Auditors are saying no documentary evidence was provided to confirm that. The Director of Finance has wrote a letter listing all withholding tax due and paid to GRA. So they have agreed, and they said in future they will endeavor to pay all the withholding tax to the GRA.
This is an issue that will have to be confirmed at your next
Yes, yes.
audit, I'm assuming. Okay. Chair, I don't know whether you have questions?
I want to further ask a question on this issue of the withholding tax. During the course of your findings, is that the only incident? Is it a one-off incident that you have noticed in terms of the payment of the withholding tax? Or is it because was just a random selection and
Yes.
you just came across it?
Yes, yes, it's just on sample. So if you, even if you find others, it will just, the figures will change, but it's the same finding. Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Joyner wants to ask a question.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Sitting here, I've been hearing about withholding tax, withholding tax. Is it that the other taxes are not important or payments are not important, like, for example, Social Security for the workers? Were those things looked into?
As public sector councils, I don't think they have, so they are contributing to social security. I'm not very sure about that, but I know the tax that need to be paid to GRA according to the act will be the withholding. But the social security, I'm not sure if councillors, if councils are contributing to that social security. Maybe we have the former mayor, and then they might help in that.
Not only councillors, but the staff.
No, I mean these councils. I mean the council, whether the council staff, because I'm just looking at the public government. For example, central government, is not like, there's nothing like contributing to social security from your salary. So for the councils, I'm not sure if they are contributing to the social security also. Maybe they.
Al wants to ask a question.
Thank you very much. On the issue of social security, all councils have their own system. They withdraw or withhold social security benefits from the staff, and at the end of the day, they are responsible for the pension payments on monthly basis and also the payment of gratuity. Yeah.
Yeah, because the withholding tax, because this one, the law is there, the tax law, the act is there, so that's why it is, and it's a common practice. They will deduct, you give this to the contractor, you pay, and then some will deduct without paying it to GRA, and then some will not even deduct it, and this is causing a suppression of revenue to GRA. Yeah.
Is that a phenomenon that you have found across the councils when you were doing your investigation?
Yes, withholding tax, yes, it's a common practice across, but now with the coming of the IFMIS now, most of them are like, this will be regulated, because IFMIS, I believe it will be able to help them in that deduction automatically.
Thank you. Council?
Thank you. I'd like to move to Janjanbureh Area Council. Audit report and final management letter for the period 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2020.
Okay. For Janjanbureh?
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm there.
Thank you. I first just want to find out. I note that the bankers for this council are all in Basse.
Okay.
Do you know if there's a reason why? Is it that there are no banks in Janjanbureh? I don't know the area, so I'm asking, considering that you have been there.
I'm not very familiar,
Okay.
but I don't think. Well, I'm not sure there is any bank in Janjanbureh. I'm not sure. I'm not very familiar with that area. But no, there's no bank. There's no bank.
There's no bank in Janjanbureh. Okay. Commissioner Silla, are you?
Sila, do you have any idea?
Yes, of recent, BISIC have opened a bank in Janyambure.
Oh.
BISIC Bank.
Okay. This is very recent because this report is very recent. Okay.
Yeah, well, this is 2019. Okay.
Okay, because I was wondering. And this report has a disclaimer of opinion.
Yeah.
So I refer you to page.
Can we have what you said again? We did not get it.
That there's
What-
a disclaimer opinion for this area council for this audit year.
All right, thank you.
I refer you to page 10 of the report, which is in respect of claims without supporting documents. This
Okay.
is a prevalent issue in all the councils, it seems.
Page 10 of the management
Yes.
letter, right?
Can you take us through that?
Page 10 of the
Yes,
management
please.
letter.
Yes, please.
Claims without supporting documents, right?
Yes.
Yes, this from the regulation 504C of the Finance and Accounting Manual for Local Government Authorities. We noted that claims of 47,000 were paid without supporting documents as detailed below. Because these are payment, you've seen the payment voucher, but there is no document to tell you what this payment was all about. And then the implication is, in the absence of the supporting document, we could not substantiate the genuineness of the payment. And then management responded to say, noted, management retrieved the necessary document and contacted the former acting director of finance for explanation, but no response.
Okay. And at page 13, there are unaccounted collections amounting to $26,775.
Unaccounted collection, yes. We noted an unaccounted revenue, 26,775, in respect of collection by the underlisted individual collectors. The collections were not recorded in the individual collector's cash book and were also not banked. So it's unaccounted. You know that this GTR receipt book was given to them, and then it was used to collect, but the collection has not been entered in the cash book and no evidence of being banked.
And they still did not provide.
Yeah, and then their response was, the collected revenue has been traced to the cash book where it has been correctly entered. And the auditor said, we have not been presented with the cash book to confirm the entries of the receipt. For them, they are saying it has been collected, sorry, it has been recorded in the cash, but auditors are still saying that it has not been submitted to them.
Page 17 of the report,
Page 70, right?
17, dealing with internal control. There seems to be an issue throughout this
Yeah.
report about handing over.
Yeah.
Can you just run us through this issue?
It was a very controversial report, even at the National Assembly, because
Okay.
of change of some management. Yeah. Handing over, this regulation 407 of sub-region of the sub-regulation of the Finance and Accounting Manual for the government authorities state that handing over notes shall be prepared by the leaving employee containing a precise state of duties and function to be transferred, among other things. Finding there was no evidence of handing over between the former and present officials of the council, Chief Executive Officer, the CEO, and the Director of Finance, respectively. The CEO was moved and the Director of Finance, so there are like no evidence of the handing over between the outgoing and the incoming CEO. The same thing applies to the outgoing and the incoming Finance Director for the period. Without handing over, there is a risk that key documents may be unaccounted for in the absence of official undertakings. Such records may never be retrieved. And recommendation, proper and detailed handing over note to be prepared before the outgoing staff leaves. That was their response. Auditors are saying management response was incomplete. The raw for date when the situation will be regularized was not filled. They said they will work on that handing over note before. That was just their response.
But you said that this was a controversial issue at the National Assembly. Can you maybe give us some idea about what the issue was?
Yeah, now I'm not reading from my report. I think I implicate myself, but that's fine. Yeah, well, what happened was, the chairman at Janjambure Area Council by then was sick.
Okay.
And then he hasn't been going to the office, and then the vice chairperson was the one acting. And then there were some normally I don't pay much attention to their internal issues, but there was that, at the Janjam. I think even the ministry was involved. The matter got, to a certain extent, even the ministry was involved, and even the National Assembly. So that was there. And then the council was divided. And then again, the CEO at Janjambure was moved from Janjambure to Kerewan. So the other CEO at Mansakonko was moved to Janjambure. So they claimed that there was no proper handing over. So that wasn't also a smooth one. And then the former director of finance was also moved, was a finance manager, and then they appointed a new director of finance, and then there was no smooth handing over between those two people also. So documentation became an issue during the audit. I wasn't even around during this audit. But according to the report, documentation became an issue. And then when we get to National Assembly to discuss this report, all these things came, and then the National Assembly has to summon them, call them, almost on 2 occasions, just to, have discussion around this, on these issues. And still now it is still ongoing, because there is no conclusion on this matter again. So just to correct, there was a poor handing over from the chairman, the CEO, and the director of finance. And if you like, these are the backbone of any council.
But then a lot of the things that should have been in the handing over notes should also have been in records that the council should have kept.
Yes, that is provided if they are keeping records. So that's the thing. That's the thing.
Okay. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. Mr. Trawally, it seems you've given us an insight as to some of the challenges you had when you were doing your audit exercise in these councils. But I believe that this was provided for in the Finance and Audit Act of the Local Government Councils. And if you look at Part 3, which deals with internal audit, these things you are complaining about is provided for in Section 26 all the way to Section 31.
Okay.
And it has laid down the approach, the authority, and the way that the Auditor General has power to make sure that it has access to these documents. Let me just read for you Section 28, which says, you being the external auditor, that 28.1 says, the Auditor General shall at least once every year cause the accounts of the council to be audited and reported on. And subsection 2 of Section 28 says, the Auditor General shall draw the attention of the council to any irregularities in the accounts audited and to any other matter which, in his or her opinion, ought to be brought to the notice of the council. So, pursuant to subsection 2 or section 38, how do you make your opinion known? Is it via your management letter, or is there any other form that you will make the council realize? Because not only on the financial investigation, but any other matter that you feel you should advise the council on, because it has clearly stated that the auditor gives an opinion.
Yes, that's why it is even called management letter. It's not only about the financial issues. That's the opinion. The opinion, that's where you have the financial statement here, and then the rest is management letter is what the Auditor General communicate. It's where the Auditor General communicate the issues, the internal control issues, weaknesses to the management of the institution. So that's exactly what we did here. That's why all these handing over issues, all these documents not in place. That's why, you know, we drafted this, send it to management to get their version about our report, and then we consolidate and then send it to them, and then copy the other stakeholder, the ministries and the chairman's office, and then again submit this report to the National Assembly for discussion. So that is how the Auditor General communicates if there is any deficiency or whatever in any institution.
And also in the same vein, the same law has provided that a council, that is the council, should make available, that is section 29 sub A, should make available at all times for inspection by the Auditor General the accounts being audited, together with all books, papers, vouchers, cash, and monies relating to those accounts. So it is not whether they like it or not, it is mandatory upon them to make available and give you access to these documents.
Yes, the law said that, and that is why when we are auditing, we will request for all these things. And even before that, we will also send an engagement letter, and then we will specify all these things, and then we will quote the power. Where we get our power from is from the Constitution. And then we will list the document and say not only limited to this, but any other document that is required for the audit. And then even whilst we are there, we will continue requesting for this documentation. But again, we don't have the power if we are not giving those documentation. We only bring it in our report and then share it with the other stakeholders who are the policy makers. But we can't say this document has not been given to us. Apart from reporting it and share it with the relevant stakeholders, we cannot take action by ourselves towards the audit. We don't have that power. So for us, we will just, because that's why the Auditor General is a reporting body. We also report to the National Assembly, we report, so it's for them to take action now. So that's why if no action has been taken, auditors will be like, some people will even say, what's the purpose of National Audit Office? You are just reporting these things year in, year out, and nothing has been done about it. But that is ours, but that is where our mandate ends. To report, but for the action to be taken, that's for another body.
And which bodies are that?
Oh, well, in this area, we copy the Ministry of Local Government and Land. I believe it's the Land Ministry. The Ministry of Finance, because they are responsible for all the finance of the country. The National Assembly, the reports are all discussed. So that's why all these reports are discussed at the National Assembly. And at the end of the discussion, they should write a report, submit it to the executive, so that an action can be taken.
So if I can understand what you are saying, in your opinion, it is the responsibility of the oversight institutions to take action, since the law has provided it mandatorily for them to give you access.
Exactly, because that's the objective of audit.
Thank you so much. All right, Council, you can proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Trawally, on page 19 of the report, or of the management letter, you indicated that there was a planning department or planning directorate at the council, but it was ineffective, and that it was occupied by a single staff who had been on study leave for 4 years, since September 2017 to February 2022. Yeah,
leaving the planning directorate without any staff during that time. Because here, this is from the director shall be responsible for the day-to-day implementation of function of their department. Because if you look at the planning, councils are for development. And then the National Audit Office, we don't even know what a planning department, because it's not, but as far as councils are concerned, it's very key. So if it is only staff with one individual and then has been on study leave for 4 years and nobody acting, nobody appointed, that is a huge internal control weakness. We noted that the planning directorate of the council was occupied by a single staff. The said staff has been on study leave for 4 years from September 2017 to 2022, leaving the planning director without any staff. Implication: vacancy for such a critical position may lead to administrative imbalance and inefficiency. It may likely spill over to a poor or no infrastructural administration development for the communities. And then the response was the planning director was on study but assisted by the planning officer who is stationed in Bansang. The director of planning has resumed back to the office, working with a planning officer who has recently been employed to enhance the planning department. The auditors are saying the council did not provide evidence to substantiate the appointment of a planning officer. So what this is telling, because the auditors, whenever they are the regions for audit, they will be there. Before, the team used to be there for 3 weeks. But now they spend nothing less than 14 days when they go out. So every day, even Sundays, they work even on Sundays. So, and these are the critical people that they need to be working with. So if there is any planning officer for the period for 14 days and the auditors doesn't even know that there is a planning officer in this institution, then how relevant is that officer for that council?
May I say that the officer is in Bansang?
Yes. Yeah, but yet still, but the council is in Janjambure. So obviously, should be coming to. I expect that should be coming to work at the council.
That's true.
So, yeah.
And at page 22, you have stated that the council did not provide any contract documents for contracts awarded for the year 2019 in respect of office building, staff quarters, is it Sari Sophie, health post, and borehole projects?
Contract, yeah. The what's the head of the what's the head?
Contracts is under contracts. 2.5.2.
Okay. This is regulation 134 of the GPPA regulation about the contract. And then they find in the area council did not provide contract document for contracts awarded for the year 2019 in respect of the following: the office building, staff quarters, Sarah Sophie health post, and borehole project. So there was no contract document for this. You just see the payments in the payment voucher. In the absence of the contract document, we could not establish if all the essential contract elements such as furniture and fitting, borehole, and the solar system for electricity supply are covered in the contract or not. And management respond, there was no contract document handed over to the current management by the previous management on contract highlighted on this report. So,
but these not documents that the council would ordinarily have, as in they don't need the management to hand it over to them.
Say again?
I said, are these not documents that the council would normally have on file? They would not need management to hand it over to them, as in the previous management.
Yeah, that is if we're told there is proper filing system. That's why I just insist institutions should operate as, we don't personalize institutions. Whether you are there or not, the filing and the documents should always speak for themselves. Whoever comes, the documents should always speak for themselves, but this is not what's happening.
Terrible.
Yes,
oh, sorry.
can I comment? Given what is contained in the Act, in the first schedule of the Finance and Audit Act, have you ever done social audit with respect to the distribution of grants by central government to councils? Aside from this normal audit you do?
Oh no, our finance, performance, and compliance. So in doing that, but we don't have, there's nothing like social or specific social audit for this thing, no. But
Yes,
in our audit, as National Audit Office, we might be, part of our processes, but not specific this one is on social audit. But as part of our procedures, yeah, we conduct all sort of audit types.
Okay, because the reason why I asked the question is that the schedule provide for access levels to some of the grants that the central government might give to local councils, and it is provided for, and it has been detailed in the schedule with respect to access level, resource base, and the indicators, etc., etc. So, for you to have a holistic understanding of what are the mechanisms through which central government will disburse grant, that is why it was provided for in the Audit Act, in the Finance and Audit Act. So that is why I asked the question. But you have answered. Thank you. Council.
Thank you. At page 38 of the report, you provided a performance review in respect of Bansang Market. Can you tell us about it?
Page 38, right?
Yes.
Yeah, performance review, Bansang Market, finding poor sanitation. Many of the problems we found at the Bansang Market are related to poor sanitation, ventilation, and health and safety issues. During our inspection, we found that the drainage gutters were clogged with plastic bags, of course from the fish and meat, fruit peels, and other debris. The clogged gutters became a breeding place for disease vectors, and the smell emanating from them was intolerable. The gutters are choked with small plastic bags, water bottles, empty cans, rags, and other. We believe that most of the sanitation problems relates to lack of inadequate provision of refuse removal points within the market. Other factors of poor sanitation are lack of cleaning materials, equipment, tools, and detergents to be used by the cleaning personnel at the market. The cleaning personnel and laborers interviewed emphasized the need to have at least adequate cleaning materials, tools, and sanitary liquid soaps in order to maintain the cleanliness standards at the market. During our inspection at the market toilets, we found that one of the toilets was in a dilapidated state and looks impossible to use. The second toilet was completely closed for public use as it needs a massive maintenance to become usable. According to the market vendors, there were no toilet attendants to take care of the toilet. Many of the vendors have to go out of the market premises in order to be able to use toilets situated far away from the market. Poor ventilation, lack of water and electricity. The market, that's 3.2. During the inspection at both the abattoir and designated fish selling hall, we found that there was no water and electricity supply or proper ventilation provided by the council. The only source of electric ventilation is one small size ceiling fan, which was purchased and connected by one of the occupants of the abattoir. From information gathered from the market vendors, the council never provided electricity for any of the newly built stores. The vendors will have to provide for themselves. The environment within the market was also found to be non-conducive for traders, as ventilation became a serious issue in the market. Women traders at the center of the market will be forced to close early in extreme hot seasons. This because there are structures erected blocking the air from flowing into the interior. The water canal inside the market is affected by blockades, as there is a structure erected just at the mouth of the canal blocking flow of water. Stores erected behind the market are also not conducive to be used as canteen. All these are contributing factors to the non-conduciveness of the environment inside the market. Other markets and health posts interview with collectors, laborers, and cleaners. Inspection and interview of collectors and laborers at Brikamaba Market, Kerewan Samba Sire, Health Post, Fulabantang Nanaba Health Post, Dankunku Health Post, Jareng and Kudam Market all show their dissatisfaction to the condition they are working under. All the laborers unanimously mentioned that their lack of protective gears, working tools like cutlass, rakes, and wheelbarrow, and also detergents for the cleaning. There are no taps at the Jaren market. One of the cleaners said she used a rechargeable card to fetch water to their jobs effectively. Some of the markets highlighted above have problem with their gates, according to the laborers after cleaning the market. Sare Sophie Health Post, there is a newly constructed health post at Sare Sophie. However, there is no water or electricity supply currently at the facility. The locks to the main entrance and the health post and every other outside door are not yet fixed, even though we are told that the facility has been handed over. There is a borehole at the health post, but the tank has fallen off from the high carrier, part of which was not strong enough to carry the tank. The solar system is also affected by the grounding of the tanker and non-usage of the borehole. That's for Sare, yeah. And then the conclusion, the poor sanitation at the Bansa market toilets carry the risk of resulting in health hazard, lack of provisions of basic needs such as toilet and water facilities. And then Janjambure Area Council staff accommodation. We visited the staff accommodation situated approximately half a kilometer away from the office building. There were 4 separate family houses built within the premises. We provide accommodation for the following management personnel: CEO, the chairman, director of finance, and the finance manager. Those are these are just a highlight of some of during the site visit. And then the management just responded to say perimeter fencing of the staff quarter is captured in our 2023 budget. Okay, maybe the staff quarter, because that was newly established. I can finish reading that. They said during our visit, we found that there was no economy of space or consideration for future development as the houses were built several meters away from each other. We also noticed the perimeter fence built around the premises for the security and protection of the occupants was not completed. There were also visible signs of leakage on the wall and the ceiling of some of the buildings. This was the newly built staff quarter. And then the management response was like, perimeter fencing of the staff quarter is captured in our 2023 budget at the fire service department. And the fire service department has been contacted for advice and to identify materials to be acquired for both the staff quarter and development, staff quarter and the office building. There were other issues highlighted during the performance review which has not been responded. So it's like the Bansam market, the Sare Sophie market and other, but they only responded to the staff quarter. So the auditors are saying there were numerous issues that management has not responded to.
And who do you believe is responsible for the issues of the market and the health post? I know that they've said director of planning for the staff quarters, but is it the director of planning that's responsible for those other issues?
Yes, if you look at all these things, it's the management of Janjambure Area Council, because it's their responsibility to protect the public fund at that council. But you know, if you say management, I know when you come to these markets and this, and by looking at the structure of the area council, the director of planning is key, because that is his area. So, but you cannot single-handedly say that it's the director of, it's the management of the area, and then the CEO has to take the responsibility.
Thank you. I don't know whether the commissioners have any questions in respect of Janjambure.
Do you have questions? All right. Commissioner Joyner has questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. TRAWALLY. Having heard you talking a lot about the inefficiencies and people not responding to the oversight, is not doing what they're supposed to do. In a nutshell, I believe you are saying the legislation is good. Correct me if I am wrong, but the oversight is lacking. Now, under that scenario, do you think the NOA should be empowered more, and what are the things that you think the NOA should be empowered? Because if you are telling me we just write a report and send it to any oversight authority, if they don't do their work, then we are cleared. Do you think there should be more instruments for you to be able to do what you're supposed to do, or for them to do what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And then even in the Constitution, there is a portion where the Auditor General can surcharge. And then that will include if they don't provide any documentation, the Auditor General can surcharge. And then if people don't, the surcharge is there, or maybe if there is fraud or things like that. But it wasn't clear, but currently we've drafted, the office has drafted, and they are working with the Ministry of Justice so that they can work on procedures to how to implement that. So if auditors, if documentations are not provided or people don't respond to audit report, then they can follow that procedure to surcharge the individual, either to be suspended until that issue is regularized before you can come back. So the Auditor General is working with the Ministry of Justice to work on that.
Just to put it into perspective, if you are working with the Ministry of Justice, and you're leaving the oversight body, the oversight ministry, that has a department or a unit that has the mandate to look over this local councils. Do you think it should be a tripartite meeting, so it would not be going from you to Aegis Chambers back to Ministry of Local Government and then back to you? Don't you think to expedite or to make it more meaningful and quick, you should have a tripartite meeting where all of these issues will be discussed? And just to note that in your response, you made mention of the Accountant General, but I thought it was a slip of the tongue. You meant National Audit Office.
Okay, I mean, I said the Accountant General, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
To surcharge.
Oh, it was my former office. I mean the Auditor
okay.
General. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. This surcharge is not about only the council. It's about all public officers, all central government, embassies, and council projects. So, and it's the law. It's in the act. And then, if you are making any adjustment or any power, the Ministry of Justice has to take the lead. So it's not only limited to the council, it's for all those responsible for the public fund. Yeah.
Mr. TRAWALLY, are you aware of any amendments in the Finance and Audit Act, which amended the emolument and allowances of chairpersons, as is contained in the Act? Are you aware?
I know I was invited for an amendment on the Audit and Finance Act, I think 2 years, almost 2 years now, and then since then I have no idea about whether it has been finalized or not, or because that was just we were invited, so the areas that they think feel that they need our input or to provide explanation, we did that, And then that was about 2 years now. Since then, I have no idea. I have no idea about it, yeah, any other amendment again.
Thank you. Council, you can proceed.
I should proceed?
Yes. Are you done with Janjambure?
Yes, with Janjambure. I wanted to move to another council. I note that it's almost time for the day, so I wasn't sure whether to proceed or to break off.
Okay, we can have a stop here, and please inform the witness that we may need him to come back, but we are
For a
releasing
brief
him,
period.
yes, for now, so that since tomorrow we are having another witness. Am I?
I would suggest that we take the witness. It will be a short period, perhaps an hour, until coffee break in the morning, and then we can take our next witness.
Okay. So this is a convenient point to stop. We would see you tomorrow morning. We may rise now. Thank you.
Okay.